Hi, and welcome to the critical theory of communication in organizations. Here's where we're going: corporate colonization and control of everyday life. Information or communication, a difference that makes a difference. Strategy, overt managerial moves to extend control. Consent, unwitting allegiance to covert control. Involvement, free expression of ideas but no voice. Participation, stakeholder democracy in action. Politically attentive relational constructivism, or PARC. Ethical reflection, West's prophetic pragmatism. Critique, is workplace democracy just a dream? Deetz developed critical communication theory to explore ways to ensure the financial health of corporations while taking into account diverse human interests. Corporate colonization is the encroachment of modern corporations into every area outside the workplace. Multinational corporations are a dominant force in society. The fallout of corporate control is a sharp decrease in human quality of life for a vast majority of citizens. Information or communication, a difference that makes a difference. The information model argues that communication serves as a conduit for the transmission of information about the real world. As long as we accept that communication is merely the transmission of information, we will continue to perpetuate corporate dominance over every aspect of our lives. All corporate information is the outcome of the political processes that are usually undemocratic and have consequences that tend to hurt democracy. The communication model argues that language is the principal medium through which social reality is created and sustained. Deetz argues that language does not represent things that already exist. In fact, language is a part of the production of the thing that we treat as being self-evident and natural within our society. Codeterminism is collaborative decision-making, participatory democracy in the workplace. Pause and examine this frame. These are two approaches to organizational practice. On the top, you have the information model and communication model. On the left, you have managerial control and codeterminism. Consider strategy, consent, involvement, and participation in the context of your own organizational experiences. Pause and reflect. Strategy, overt managerial moves to extend control. Managerialism is systematic logic, a set of routine practices, and an ideology that values control over all other concerns. Stockholders want profits. Workers desire freedom. Management craves control. Consent, the unwilling allegiance to covert control. Consent is the process by which employees actively, though unknowingly, accomplish managerial interest in faulty attempts to fulfill their own interests. Systematic, distorted communication is operating outside of employees' awareness, a form of discourse that restricts what can be said or considered. Discursive disclosure is the suppression of conflict without employees' realization that they are complicit in their own censorship. Without a clear understanding that communication produces rather than reflects reality, employees unknowingly consent to a managerial mentality that wants to expand corporate control. Involvement, free expression of ideas but no voice. Involvement is the stakeholders' free expression of ideas that may or may not affect managerial decisions. In national politics and corporate governance, meaningful democracy requires not only that people have a chance to discuss issues, They need to have a voice in the final result. Participation, stakeholder democracy in action. Participation is stakeholder democracy, the process by which all stakeholders in an organization negotiate power and openly reach collaborative decisions. At least 6 groups of stakeholders with multiple needs and desires: investors, workers, consumers, suppliers, host communities, and the greater society and the world community. There's no legitimate basis for privileging one group of stakeholders over another. Deetz would have managers take the roles of mediators rather than persuaders. Politically attentive relational constructivism, or the PARC model. It's a collaborative view of communication based in conflict. Requirements for negotiation. Invite stakeholders with divergent interests. Stakeholders possess roughly the same level of communication skills. Set aside authority relations and power positions. All stakeholders have equal opportunity to express themselves. Requirements for negotiation. Open investigation of what the stakeholder wants. Transparent sharing of information and decisions. Facts and knowledge claims revisited. Focus on outcomes and interests. Stakeholders jointly make decisions. West wants to overcome institutional oppression of the disadvantaged, degraded, and dejected. He applauds action-oriented approach to empower rather than exploit. Critique. Is workplace democracy just a dream? Deetz' approach is inherently attractive because it is built on values that many in the field of communication share. It affirms the importance of democratic participation, fairness, equality, diversity, and cooperation. The insistence on the constitutive nature of all communication helps us understand consent practices in the workplace. It admits that a positive alternative to managerialism is difficult to work out in both conception and in practice. So here's where we've been. We discussed corporate colonization and control of everyday life, information or communication, a difference that makes a difference, strategy, overt managerial moves that extend control, consent, unwitting allegiance to covert control, involvement, free expression of ideas but no voice, participation, stakeholder democracy in action, politically attentive relational constructivism, or PARC, ethical reflections, West's prophetic pragmatism, and we ended with the critique: is workplace democracy just a dream?